Yes, my name is Simon. I'm from Karlsruhe in Germany. I'm one of the backbone administrators of the network in Karlsruhe. And yes, Freifunk, what the heck? What is it? So basically, Freifunk is a synonym for wireless mesh networks, at least in Germany. It's decentral organized, and there is basically a community in every city or in every region. And there's not like one Freifunk community for everything, but every city has our own. So I'm from Karlsruhe, so obviously it's Freifunk Karlsruhe. There are over like 50,000 nodes participating Wi-Fi routers in the whole of Germany doing some kind of Freifunk. And what really makes a difference is in the possession of the community. There's no company behind it. It's absolutely non-profit, and basically we're an ethical internet provider. You maybe heard of it too. So Freifunk is based on the peer-to-peering agreement. The peer-to-peering agreement is basically a minimal agreement on what we all shall do with our networks. So we are obliged to net neutrality. Everybody gives free transit and transport of the data for everybody. We use as many free standards as we can, and we keep an open documentation about what we do and how we do it. About Freifunk in Karlsruhe. Freifunk in Karlsruhe is actually pretty new. We're there since July of 2014. So like 15 years after the original Freifunk in Berlin was started. There are like over 400 nodes online in Karlsruhe, 300 of them directly in the city of Karlsruhe, which is a city of around 500,000 people. So yes. And we have regular bi-weekly meetings and meetups at the ZKM, which is the Center for Art and Media, a media art museum in Karlsruhe, which you should really go to and visit. So this is what our meetups look like. So you get in comparison. Basically, this table is our meetup, and they're like this was like the opening meetup of the exhibition we are meeting in. So there are other groups meeting there, for example, the Fabrication Lab, the local hackerspace, and so on. But we're one of the participants there. Let's compare Freifunk to the NYC Mesh. So on a technical basis, at least. So what we are doing is a little bit different from at least what I've read about NYC Mesh. We can talk about that later if I'm wrong, so correct me. Basically, what we're doing is one large layer 2 per city, or at least for an area of a city. And what really differentiates us is the largest portion of our connect nodes is not connected via a direct wireless link. Because wireless backhauling is really, really complicated in Germany because of laws and obligations and landlords not allowing like big antennas or small antennas on your balcony or the rooftop. But we're getting there. So most of our network is connected via VPN. And basically, we are running a layer 2 mesh protocol called Batman, Better Approach to Mobile ad hoc networking, and all our gateways and all our uplink is sponsored by companies and institutions in Karlsruhe. So they're basically everything is in the city. There is no back and forth through Germany. Everything is quite local. We have our own IP resources, and we have uplink sponsors in the city. And since like 3 months ago, we launched our first like wireless backbone node on a rooftop, and all of our working is highly automated with automation like SaltStack, if you have heard of it. So this is what the map of our network looks like. Like the blue dots are access nodes you can currently use. The red dots are currently offline, and we have a few green ones new. And these are the different like layer 2 partitions of our network. So we have like one for the east region, for the western region, north and south, and you get it. And what I also want to talk about is our firmware, what we do with our firmware, because we have, of course, when you do an open network, you have to do your own firmware. And we use the Gluon firmware, which is the de facto standard firmware for Freifunk. And it's developed in cooperation between a lot of communities in Germany, not every community, but most of the communities. And it's a relatively modern firmware and heavily developed. We use a really modern OpenWrt, prepared for the newest release. We use 802.11s as our mesh protocol on the wireless side, and it ships basically with an auto updater, so every node is always up to date with the latest firmware, and basically no one is left behind because his router is stuck on an old version which is not connecting to the VPN nodes and so on. The Gluon firmware is open in mind, but currently pretty constrained to to the Freifunk setup. So we have support for the Batman protocol. We have support for the experimental Babel protocol, which is also a meshing routing protocol, but we have no BGP or OSPF support. You use, but the communication and development happens in English. So feel free to participate, and it's very modular. So a lot of communities have their own modules. For example, we have a module to direct nodes into the correct like layer 2 domain on the basis. And what is really great is we have a lot of hardware that we support. So I suppose many of you know those routers. They're probably used by you too, like at least the depeeling one or this depeeling one, and also quite modern hardware. So this is great. This is what our firmware looks like when it's running. So we have a node overview, what the node currently does, what kind of model it is, MAC addresses, what firmware that is, like monitoring what the load is, how it's connected, how the mesh partners are, and it has a really simple setup mode you can use. Basically, you type in the name, you choose where you are, you want to connect via VPN, and then you save it and you forget it, and put the node where it belongs. Yes, what we are currently trying to do in the near future, we're talking with different sponsors in the Karlsruhe area to transport us to Frankfurt, where we can get even more upstream connectivity, because upstream connectivity in Karlsruhe is quite rare. And so we can get our port at the D6. I've read you also have a port at D6 New York, and Community X, which is an community-driven internet exchange where basically companies donate their connectivity, and communities like Freifunk, but also the Tor project, can get connectivity from the sponsors. We really want to expand our wireless network, our wireless backbone, because we want to get rid of a lot of the VPN connections, at least in some cases where the current internet situation is really bad. For example, at some refugee shelters we have. Yes. And we really need to find more developers for our Gluon firmware, because we're really running out of them currently. And something I tried to explain about, I can't really explain because you really can't translate it, is this word. It's Störerhaftung. And I tried to put it in the front of the presentation, but Störerhaftung is what made Freifunk this big in Germany, because basically it's the liability of the owner of the internet connection to go basically. Sorry. Yes, you have to secure the access points, and if somebody does something about it, you're liable for it, and you even have to go to jail if something is, because you're the owner of the internet connection. So Störerhaftung, but Störerhaftung is most of it is gone now, so no worries. And yes, please come to GPN. GPN is our conference, also happening at the Center for Art and Media in Germany. And we have a dedicated Freifunk track on it. There are a lot of Freifunk communities happening. There are communities from France also. There are also communities from France. Yes. Thanks. Yes. Any questions?
I'll just pass this mic around. It is on. The light is on. Hello? Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Simon? Really, guys? Oh, cool. I'll pass the mic around just so it...
Oh, what kind of companies typically get involved?
Sorry?
What kind of companies typically get involved?
Get involved?
So you say they donate, right?
Right. For example, hosting companies get involved. So we have a hosting company which is a server host at Karlsruhe who donates us with internet connectivity. So, yes.
Thanks.
So do you have any kind of link with FFDN, the French Federated Network of Independent ISPs, or is that like not really a thing?
Well, we have talked to them, but there's not really a link to them.
Okay, okay.
What is the primary motivation? What is the primary motivation for somebody to join Freifunk in Germany?
So the primary motivation is to offer internet access without the liability for it. So because there are still certain laws in place where you can get liable for what you do over your internet connection, and Freifunk helps you to get rid of it. And the other part is we are a heavily ethical provider, so we try to go into like refugee shelters. I don't know what the word for it in English. Like we have like a women's refugee house connected. We have a lot of like churches and connected to our network who provide internet access for those in need and maybe who can't afford a normal internet connection or a mobile internet connection.
I'm not sure if you're saying liability or libel. And I'm not sure what it means. But meaning like, but I don't understand what that means to a user.
Yes.
I think that's what he explained before. When somebody abuses the access, I think
Yes.
in Germany there are more strict laws for that than here.
Yes. If you abuse your connection, there are very strict laws about it, and what happens is the who buys the access is liable for it, not the person actually using the internet.
So if the laws are changing for this Störerhaftung, what do you think that will do to Freifunk?
So what we are currently seeing is we are currently shifting away from just getting rid of the Störerhaftung more to a like wireless community ISP. So we have and we also see in other cities that there are like now spawning like wireless backbone points where you can connect to and get an internet connection to certain areas where maybe the internet speeds you available are low or not even available. So like it's shifting away from the VPN model more like to an wireless community ISP.
I see. So you see the future of Freifunk as a community network that's largely physical.
Yes, we're heavily working on that in Karlsruhe, but it's really, really hard to do that. And as there are very strict laws on what you can do on rooftops, on your balcony, because there are laws where there's landlord in most of the times having something against antennas on your balcony or on your rooftop. So, yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about the wireless backbone? You know, how many access points have you guys deployed, or do you have main hubs, or what is the process of it for you guys now?
So basically, we have currently one access node deployed in Karlsruhe, which is at the also at the Center for Art and Media. They have like they call it a lighthouse. It's like I can show you afterwards. I can show you a picture of it, which is a very high point, and we have ubiquity prism stations on there, and there are currently 4 connected nodes to it. So it's really, really small, but we are getting there because it's only 3 months old, and it's still in heavy development because we are still figuring out how to route all the IP packages around with the wireless backbone, because we figured out the huge layer 2 approach we did with the VPN access stuff just doesn't work.
Can you go back to the first slide, because I missed it on the line.
Hi, Simon. Thanks for the great presentation. Just one question. I'm curious about your decision to communicate in English in Germany. What drove that?
So for the Gluon Freifunk, for the Gluon firmware, it's because we really want to get the firmware onto an international level. So a lot of the development is happening in English to allow other communities to like spawn. So, example, there is something similar to Freifunk now in Denmark or in the Netherlands, and they profit from our work, which is done in English. So, basically, it's international language. Sorry?
Those other countries also maintaining?
Yes, they're also maintaining it in English. So our website is in German, most of the stuff is in German, but all the software we use and all the documentation about our network, we try to do it in English, or in English and German.
Are you offering any services within Freifunk, like a DNS, like a local DNS?
So there are services in the Freifunk network. For example, in Karlsruhe, we have a multicast stream of a local community radio, which sometimes work, and otherwise there are not that many services. There's the like the overview page of your node. Where is it? This one, which is accessible via for every member or everyone connected to the network, and there is a DNS relay on every Gluon node. So yes, the local DNS, as local as it gets.
I'm just curious, what you get. Do you guys like have a lot of security testing for your firmware? Like, what kind of security testing do you do for the firmware?
Yeah.
Just curious. Sorry.
Yes, sorry, I'm not that heavily involved into the firmware, but I can check back on that for you. But what is on the security side, so our firmware has two operating modes. So there's a setup mode where there is only somebody's. I see. They watch the live stream and now getting me the answers. There's two modes on our firmware. One setup mode, where you can that you can only access via the LAN network ports, and everything is set up. And after the setup, the node boots into like the normal working mode, where there's no physical access to any of the setup stuff, and the only thing you can really access is the node page, and there is we call it collect daemon, which collects like metrics from every node. So we have a metric about what node, how many clients are connected to the node, what kind of bandwidth is currently used at the node, and so on. But yes.
So now that you have that you and the rest of your city have run a Freifunk network using Batman Advanced, and you've deployed so many routers, and now that you're also testing a backbone node, can you teach us something about what you've learned from trying both approaches, and what you've learned by trying to mix them, and maybe something like that?
So Batman Advanced, basically I can say don't do it. It doesn't scale very well. That's why we have separated the city into different like domains, we call them. And what we are currently trying to do with the wireless backbone is to utilize Babel as a vector distance routing protocol. And what we're also trying to do is like route the domains we have with we currently have via the wireless backbone to the location they are needed. It's a complicated process. We still have not figured it out completely, but we can report back on it like in half a year or so.
Okay, just curious, because we haven't had that experience. So every city's experience can be a little different. I mean, we had meshing protocol experience a little bit, but just curious what you learned from it so far.
So yes, Batman doesn't scale. You want to have basically a so-called Batman gateway, which is like the access point of the Batman mesh, as local as you can get it. So if there's, for example, I would guess if you can use it, and what we're also trying to do to use it like for a building, to get the network around in a building, and then get it up on the wireless backbone. This would probably be a good way to use it, because Batman like scales on a scale like up to 50, maybe 60 nodes, and then there's a lot of background traffic because of the protocol trying to get its tables and all the data flows around the whole network, and this is congesting all of the network, and it doesn't scale very well.
Okay, and it looks like you've looked into NYC Mesh a little bit. Can you tell us? Can you maybe give us an evaluation of our network from the Freifunk perspective? What do you like that we're doing? What do you not like that we're doing? And is there anything you could, from Freifunk, you could say, if you do this, you'll be really great?
I've looked on what I can see on your website, and what is really great is you're really doing like the wireless ISP approach to it. Something we're really missing, at least in Karlsruhe. In other cities, there's already like a wireless backbone, and but there's like little information about how you utilize like a mesh protocol, and how you like route your network, and there's no IPv6. But okay, I have not read about it. Yes.
All right, I think that's a good spot to stop off. Thank you so much, Simon.
Welcome.